Hi, my name is Edwin Yee, and I'm going to be training you on how to use this software called Apache OpenOffice 3. At first glance, it basically is very similar to Microsoft Office. You've got these applications, the text document, spreadsheet, presentation, drawing, database, and formula. So I'm just going to be taking you into a couple of these so that you can get a feel for them. Let's start with the text document. Alright, so this is the application that we would use if we were to like maybe type up an essay. So let's start with, just bear with me. I'm just gonna type a couple things so that we can format it, and I'm gonna show you what options and features they have here. This is just a written assignment that I had for another class, but I'll only be using like a portion of it, so it shouldn't take too long. Okay, I hope that wasn't too bad. So I misspelled a couple of these in my hurry and some on purpose. So the first thing we want to do is format this so that it looks great when we hand it in. So highlight this portion. I'm going to want it to go to the right side of the paper. So I'm going to align it to the right. Next, I'm going to want this to be my heading, and for people to know that it's the heading, we're going to have to make it bigger, maybe center it, bold it, italicize it, and underline it. That way people know um, what kind of assignment this is. You always want to have a good heading. Alright, now all these misspelled words are in red, so we can go through them and type them individually one by one, or use this tool that they have called the spelling and grammar check. Now if it's in a blue line, then basically that means that the grammar or the sentence does not make sense. So, okay, it's not catching it. So we'll just go ahead and check the spelling first for now. So it will give you a list of suggestions of what it thinks you meant to say. We can go ahead and change them, and it'll go ahead and change them automatically. It's pretty accurate. Um, let's see, but you can't just change them without checking them, because in this case, SOD is not a word that I'm familiar with, and definitely not one that I wanted to put in there. So you gotta catch it. It will catch it for the most part, but you gotta pay attention. Okay. Change. Okay. Now this formatting is not quite correct, so let's see what we can do about that. I think, alright, I see what went wrong. So now that we've got the question and then the answer, or part of it, um, we can go ahead and change the font size on these, but we would not want to change it with the heading. There's a bunch of font sizes that we can go. We can change it as far as 96. Um, it might, we could use this to like make signs and stuff too. So I find that pretty useful to change the fonts. What else can we do? So there are simple shortcuts. Like let's say if I wanted this piece to go down here, we would cut that, change it around. If you right click, here's a bunch of options that we can do. We can go back to the default formatting. We could change the font. There's a bunch of fonts here. Change the size of it, the style, the alignment, and the line spacing. There's also the character, which okay, we'll just go with the default one. But anyways, to get back to what we were doing, if you want to paste it back, then just simply click paste. Other things, well, I think you get the gist of it. This is very similar to Microsoft Word. If you're unfamiliar with that, then you'll find that this is pretty much the simplified version of it. It doesn't offer as many features, but there's all these cool icons where if you just drag your mouse over it, it'll give you like little descriptions of what each does. So let's go to the next application in this software. Oops, let me get out of there. I haven't quite figured out how to close these without, okay. So always before you close a document, it's going to ask you whether you want to save it. If you haven't, it's pretty important to save it just in case your computer crashes. But for this purpose, we will not be saving it. Okay. The next one that I'm going to take you through is the spreadsheet, which is very similar to the Excel spreadsheet. But that's just the name. The spreadsheet is the generic name for what all these programs do. Alright, so a lot of people use spreadsheets throughout their lives, daily lives too. Today, let's say I'll be using it to play around and see what my grade would be. So always make sure you have a label. We want to make that nice and big. Maybe change the color of it somewhere. We'll get to that. Now this I think students can find helpful just by, if they want to know how they're doing in the class or what grade they'll need, then keeping track of this is essential. Here's a trick here. If you have multiple assignments, like we always want to keep things simple and like easy for us. So instead of typing them all out one by one, we can click and drag and then it will actually input it in there for us. So that should save us some time. We can do the same here since there are 3 exams. Then we want to label the points and the points assigned. Now we can click and drag and make these margins a little bit wider. So just simply enter the points that your teacher assigned for each assignment. And then put in the points that you received for each assignment. I know for the first one I put 11. That's because I guess he gave me extra credit for that. For the exam. Okay, now here is where spreadsheets become fun because now that you have all this information in here and we have one exam to go, well, let me backtrack a step. So these are all the points. Now you want to total up all the points that are given into the class. So we can use this function that will calculate all this instead of individually counting them one by one. So far there's a total of 290 points. Make sure we go ahead and label that. And then do the same for here. This function that will calculate the sum of all the boxes that you put in. Okay. So basically from here we can calculate that here are your points divided by the number of points available, and that's at a 64%. So, but that's without the final exam. So we could just plug in any random number, or not any random number, what number or how well we think we're going to do on the test. Or let's say if we are only shooting for a B, which people should not, they should always shoot for higher. Yeah, so let's just play around with it. So I would know that if I wanted to get an A in this class, I would have to get, wow, okay, even perfect will not get me there. But let's say I had done better on one of these other take homes. Okay, better on a number of them. Let's say I'd scored perfect on all these. And wanted to calculate, maybe I had other classes that had tests that were maybe more important. I would maybe just shoot for a B in this case. So I can find out that I could only score 50 on this and still pass with the B. There's a lot of formatting techniques that are similar to the word processor that we used not too long ago. We can make the font bigger. And do a bunch of other things. Now, if we're talking about money, like let's say we want to see how much money we can accumulate in a 10-year period, we could, let's just make it very simple. We want to make this formatting, turn that into money so that we know what we're talking about. Maybe we want to express this as a percentage. We can go ahead and do that. There's all these formatting tools that we can use to make the spreadsheet look nice, which will benefit us when we're like using it in a presentation, like for our boss. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This is pretty pretty simple, I think. Let me see if there's other stuff that we can maybe add in here. Let's say we need to add in a hyperlink. Then we'll put our school's address, hit apply, and then close. Then we have that here. Now once we click on it, it'll take us straight there. Okay? Alright. Let's move to the next one, which will be, again, because we didn't save it, it's always going to alert you. So make sure you save your changes. Okay, the next one is presentation. I this is interesting. It makes you format it in the beginning before you put all the information in. So start with an empty presentation, and then we could change the background to have it looking all nice, whatever the case may be. Let's say we're doing a presentation on Antarctica. Then we'll choose the one with the glacier. They have other ones that you can browse, but let's just go with that one. We'll select it to slide, then hit next. Next, we can choose what kind of slide transition we want, and which is, as it goes from slide to slide. Let's say, oh, we want it to go left. There's this little preview that we can check it out if we want it to go slow or fast. They look like they're going at the same speed, but I'm sure that would change during the presentation. We can also check how long we want our slides to be on, when they show in front of the class, and how quickly we want them to move. So if we were to do it at 1 second, that would be really fast and not enough time for people to see. I think Okay, so 10 seconds seems about right. The duration of the pause, let's just leave everything as it is, and let's create it. Okay, so from here, it's going to be, here, let's just make that bigger. Sorry about that. Um, okay, so here we're going to want the title. Let's just say presentation. You'll want to be a little bit more descriptive than that, but I feel like I'm running out of time. So from here, maybe introduce your group members. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now to make a new slide, we're gonna make it. You could just hit enter. Okay, so here we'll probably have the introduction. And from there, you're just gonna have these little titles of what each person is gonna talk about. And so I'm just making random stuff up at this point. Um, okay, so a bunch of stuff. Now, that's the quickest way to just create new slides. And from there, again, you're going to want to format it. I keep emphasizing it, but it's all about presentation. So, let's see. Go ahead and make that all nice and colorful. Make that red. Change this to blue. Alright, now there's other layouts that we could use, but we'll stick to this. Here are the bunch of layouts. We can also animate some stuff, but let's just keep it really simple for like an everyday user. Now we can insert pictures to go with our slides, but I do not have any here, unfortunately. So let's just go through these options. If you right click any part of the slide, it'll take you to the slides where you can customize it. You can do the page setup, slide design, slide layout. You can insert a snap point or line. Let's make those visible. Okay. I think that's all we have time for today. There are three. Oh, here we go again. Saving it. Make sure you do save. We're going to discard this. And yeah, so I just covered three of them: the text document, spreadsheet, and presentation. Um, if you have time, just go ahead and fool around with these three other ones. I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun with it. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for today. I hope this was helpful. Bye.